Hey, what's up guys? It's been a bit. Thanks for checking out my newest video here. Today we're gonna just do a quick time lapse with some parallax mapping. So to start off, what I did here is I took a screenshot of my old map and I then used that screenshot as a parallax background for the new map, and then I built over the parallax with a new tile set, a tile set from FSM. I think it's like Dungeons or something. I'll leave a link to both the plugin that I used to take the screenshot of the map, and I'll also leave a link to the tile set for whatever engine you're using, because it's different whether you're using MZ or MV. By the way, I am using RPG Maker MZ in this video. However, my project is an MV project. That's pretty complicated, but it's still technically an MV project, so I can open it in MV. It uses MV based animations. I can't use MZ animations in this project, but I can still just use the editor, the MZ editor, because it has a lot of like quality of life improvements that I like. The reason why I don't use the MZ game, like I haven't actually converted my game to a full-on MZ game, is because of the availability of different plugins that I want to use for my project. Okay, so here what I'm doing is I'm cleaning up the corners of the map. So because the previous map that was underneath had like really sharp square-like corners, I had to basically delete what was underneath the previous map and kind of put an additional parallax flooring layer. When I get back into Krita, you'll see that there's a layer just for the floor by itself. And the reason I needed that was because some of the corners were not really working with the new tile set. The previous tile set accounted for having those corners in there. Right there, what I was doing was I was trying to clean up the edges of that kind of side lava pit on the side. That was kind of just an unnecessary kind of what would you call it, a garnish, if you will, on the map that wasn't totally 100% necessary, but I just kind of left it in there and was experimenting with it and trying to get it to look right. So here you can see I took out like most of the floor on the layers, and I'm gonna take that what I made and like put it over it. If you missed it real quick right there, what I did is I actually changed the color of the rocks to match the previous tile set. So it was kind of like a more vibrant gray, and I turned it into like a darker gray. So the rocks are not this color out of the box when you get them from the tile set. And matching your, if you're gonna mix tiles, I highly recommend that you kind of change the color, whether you do it with a hue or saturation setting in Photoshop or Krita. By the way, I use Krita for this parallax map. I've been teaching recently, and I teach a little bit of RPG Maker to middle schoolers, and I wanted to see how Krita works. So I've been using it, and you know what? I honestly have nothing but good things to say about it. For a free program, it really is great. So I highly recommend it for anybody who is looking for an editor for RPG Maker, MV or MZ. I think it does just about everything you need it to do. Okay, so back to the parallax mapping. It looks like now I'm just really kind of refining some of the details. There's definitely a couple corners that I missed at this point, so I'm going back and trying to find them. And it's one of those things where in game development, whether it's art or whatever, polishing is really where you spend the majority of your time. I'm going to get to those waterfalls in a second here, and you're going to see that I spend like an inordinate amount of time kind of messing with the waterfalls. You see these little edges here that I'm kind of trying to clean up, and there's little gaps in my parallax map that I have to fill in. Like right here, I'm moving this up on the edge and just trying to make it match with the water. I spend quite a bit of time on this. Generally speaking, when it comes to parallax mapping, it's just not going to be the quickest way to get your maps done. And I might suggest avoiding it altogether if you're just trying to get a game out and get it tested and get it in front of people. You know, parallax mapping takes a ton of freaking time. So, and that's for me, who's like relatively skilled with the image editors, relatively skilled in Photoshop. Not to toot my own horn here or pat myself in the back, but I am pretty good at it. And it still takes like a ton of time for me to do. So if you are thinking about, you know, parallax mapping, my suggestion would be is just try to just do what you can with tiles first, you know. Don't really try to parallax map right off the bat or worry about getting your maps to look super crazy like this one. This map was really, for the amount of work I put into it, even though it looks great, I don't know if I feel I budgeted, you know, my time well on this little project, but I have it now, so I might as well use it, right? Okay, so here what I was looking at is I had an overlay image that went over the top of both of these two like lava levels, and I'm currently kind of setting up my game to work for mobile in addition to Windows and Mac. And one of the things with mobile is you don't want to really use a lot of rendering. You want the image to kind of be set, and that actually works better for Windows and stuff too. So before I would render in the engine, I would lower the opacity of an image in the engine, which I would recommend for if you're doing like photo editing or something. But in this context, I would have it pre-rendered to have the opacity lowered. Now the disadvantage of that is a PNG image with lower opacity, it's going to be quite a bit bigger, so it's going to increase the game file size than an image with no opacity settings. But the difference is that it won't have to render that opacity in the game, so it's kind of like you got to pick your poison at this point. For me, because of, you know, mobile's inability to load things quickly, I found the greatest limitation with mobile is it just doesn't load the assets fast enough. It tends to be, you know, you want stuff to just show right away, so I would pre-render stuff. But it even within like an Android port, it varies pretty wildly among those. So here you can see I'm just trying to like test, I'm looking for stuff, and again, this is what most of your time is going to be spent doing. I initially started with a much more hard pixel to pixel kind of black overlay to cover the outsourced edges, and then I kind of switched to a more anti-alias blurred overlay, and I liked the blurred one. I felt like it blended a bit more, so I ended up going with that. Sometimes my game is weird in the sense that I do use pixel art, but sometimes I have like painted stuff too, so I'm kind of like a bad example for you guys to follow. I would generally say if you're making a game, definitely choose whether or not you want to be like a hardcore pixel art or not. This kind of weird blend that I've created, while it is cool because it makes my game unique, I don't recommend it. I don't think that the majority of people will be able to get a good result. So what I'm doing here is I'm adding doors, and the reason why I did this, it kind of almost doesn't make sense that there'd be like pathways with this much light coming through, but I added it because I really just couldn't see where to go, you know, and I know the level, but I wanted other people to have a very clear idea of where they can walk and where they can't. So I made like really clear doors that are like really obvious to walk through, especially because now the current map is just so much darker, and I wanted people to really be able to understand it, you know, at a glance. So here we are at the end of the video. I just wanted to show you guys kind of what it looks like zoomed out. This is the direct capture from the game. Sorry for the weird walking. I had to kind of navigate around the monsters, or else they would want to fight. But you can get an idea of, you know, what the map looks like and how it feels when you move a little bit. For the most part, I think it was a success, and it's a pretty solid little map, and it's a staggering improvement from what I had before. So see you later. Subscribe, like, bye.